लाल की
जय।
श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की
जय।
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर् गुरुर्देवः सदाशिवः न गुरोरधिकः कश्चित् त्रिषु लोकेषु विद्यते। नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपापप्रणाशनं प्रमाणो दुःखशमनस्तं नमामि हरिं परम्। नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमित स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्ममापि। नमः कमलना भाय नमः कमलमालिने नमः कमलपादाय नमस्ते कमलेक्षण यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तत्त्वं ह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। Dear devotees of God, let's chant the holy name of Radharani before I begin my discourse. Let's do Roop Dhyan of Sri Radharani. Let us contemplate upon her merciful nature, her loving nature, her forgiving nature, as we chant her glorious name. Radhe 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 Shri Radhe
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 Radhe Shri Radhe
Radhe Shri Radhe
Radhe Shri Radhe
Radhe Shri Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Shri Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Shri Radhe
Radhe Radhe Radhe Shri Radhe
राधे 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 श्री राधे
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 राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
राधे राधे राधे श्री राधे
बोलिए राधा रानी महारानी की
जय
वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की
जय
जगत गुरु श्री कृपालु जी महाराज की
जय
The Bhagavad Mahapuran tells us that for people living in Kali Yuga, the most effective method of uniting the mind with God, and indeed the only method of attaining God, is by chanting the holy name. It is only by chanting the name of God that we, people of Kali Yuga, can bring God into our minds. It's only by taking the holy name that we can actually reach God, we can attain God. Kaler doshanidhera jannasti eko mahan guna Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vrajet, says the Bhagavad. Sri Maharaj Ji, Jagadguru Sri Kripalu Ji Maharaj has said the same in an easier to understand language in Radha Govind Geet. Kali sarva dosh khani Govind Radhe Gun Krishna Kirtan Hari te milade. While there are difficult sadhanas prescribed for the other yuga or the other ages, the method that is prescribed for this age, Kali Yuga, it's very simple. Just chant the holy name. Krite yadhyayato Vishnu Tretayam yajato maghaihi Dwapare paricharyayam Kalau tadhari kirtanat, says the Bhagavad. And in the Ramayana, the same is said in an easier to understand language. Krit jug sab jogi vigyani Kari hari dhyan tarahi bhav prani Treta vividh yagya nar karahi Prabhu hi samarpi karma bhav tarahi Dwapar kari raghupati pad puja Nar bhav tariya upaya naduja Kali jug keval hari gun gaha Gavat nar pavahi bhav thaha. In Krita Yuga or Satya Yuga, the method that was prescribed for everyone to follow was silent meditation. Close your eyes and meditate on God. People of Satyug were highly spiritual, very spiritual, highly evolved, spiritually evolved. So if they just close their eyes and try to meditate on God, they succeeded very nicely. But then, the world is that which is always in a state of motion. Sansaratiti, sansaraha, gachatiti jagat. Sansar means that which is always shifting. It's a downward shift. Jagat, gachatiti jagat. What is jagat? The world? It is that which is always changing. So from Satyug we come down to Treta Yuga. Now the situation is a little bit, it's not as good as it was in Satyug. People of Treta Yuga did not find it so easy to meditate on God, so the method prescribed for them changed. What was prescribed for them? It was yajna. Havan karo. Perform yajnas, and by doing so you will attach your mind to God. And then there came another shift, downward shift. Dwapar Yuga started, and now the mind was not as good, as well behaved, as pure as it was in Treta Yuga. And so now the method also changed. And now the instruction was to do puja, ritualistic worship. And then came the Yuga, the age we are living in, Kali Yuga. And for us, the only method that's prescribed is chanting of the holy name. This is the easiest. The easiest method. Because our mind is very ill-behaved. Our mind does not go to God easily. It's very, very difficult for us to take our mind to God. I don't have to convince anyone. Everyone has the same experience. It's very difficult to convince the mind to think about God. So for us, chanting of the holy name is the sadhana which has been prescribed. Hare namayva, namayva, namayva mama jivanam, kalau nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyatha. Skanda Purana. Bhagwan Vedavyas, who has composed all the 18 Purans, he has said in Skanda Puran, O people of Kali Yuga, the only method that you need to employ is chanting of the holy name. He says this 3 times. Hare Namaiva, 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 Mama Jivanam. And then the next line, he says 3 times that there is no other way. There is no other way, there is no other way. In case we start using our intellect and we start thinking, well, I think I can think of another method. I would like to do Havan, and many people do. People of Kali Yuga, many people love to do Havan, but that is not the recommended sadhana for this yuga, for this age. Many people like to do what they call silent meditation. I have yet to meet a person who says, I'm able to do it very easily. I just close my eyes and God appears before my eyes. Most often what I hear is, my mind just goes all over the place. It goes all over the world. It will naturally go all over the world because that is a very difficult sadhana. It's not for this age. It's not for Kali Yuga. So God must have thought, my human children, they will say to me, they will complain to me, well, we can't see you, you're not available to us all the time, we cannot see you, how do we reach you? And many people will say, well, I can't leave my home to go somewhere. If you say I need to go on a pilgrimage, I need to go to a holy place to find you, well, my legs don't work and I don't have the strength to go anywhere. Many people are deaf, they cannot hear anything. Many people are blind, they can't see anything. So God said, you know what, just fall in love with me through my name. That's it. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to leave home. You just fall in love with my name, and I will come running. So it's a very easy method that God has given to us. He is so merciful. And He is further merciful by not attaching any rules or restrictions to the chanting of the holy name. God does not say in the scriptures that you need to get up at a certain time and that's the only time when you can get up and take my name. He doesn't say that. Nadesha niyamastasmin nakala niyamastatha Padma Purana. God has not specified any rules or restrictions attached to chanting of the holy name. There is no specific time in which we must take the name of God. You can take the name of God anytime, even at midnight. Yes. In the afternoon? Yes. Evening? Yes. Anytime, anytime. And anywhere, anywhere. You can take the name of God in the toilet, in the cremation ground, in the funeral home. You can take it anywhere. There are no rules or restrictions. 500 years ago, when Gauranga Mahaprabhu graced this earth, he heard a complaint by some scholars. They said that they had found one of Mahaprabhuji's devotees taking the name of God even when he went to the toilet. And they thought that this was very wrong, and they in fact had chastised him, they had scolded him. They said, you are illiterate, you don't know, you're not supposed to take the name of God in the toilet. In the toilet? Really? Seriously? And he became very frightened. They said to him, you can't take the name of God in an unholy place, in such a dirty place. So he became very frightened. He thought he had committed an unpardonable sin, and they thought that he had. So when the complaint went to Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he called this devotee, he summoned this devotee, and he said, is it true that you take the name of God even when you go to the toilet? He said, I'm afraid so. Because I'm so accustomed to taking the name of God. I'm so accustomed to saying Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I don't mean to say, I don't intend to say it, but it just comes out. But Maharajji, I have started holding on to my tongue so that I will not take the holy name when I visit such a dirty place. Mahaprabhuji said, don't listen to these people, they don't know anything. You can go ahead and feel free to take the name of God anywhere. Do you think that Sri Krishna is not in the toilet? That he's not in the bathroom? He's only in the puja room? Or he's only in the living room? What do you think? Prabhu Vyapak Sarvatra Samana. God is everywhere, equally present everywhere. He is omnipresent. Premate prakat hohi Bhagavana. It's a different matter altogether that we don't see him because our love is very small. But they who love him completely, they see him everywhere. So we are allowed to take the name of God anywhere, at any time. It doesn't matter which direction you're facing. You don't have to face the east or the west or north or south. You don't have to face any particular direction. That is completely irrelevant. So there are no rules or restrictions, and that is a huge grace of God. It's a very tremendous grace of God. Because there are rules everywhere. You go to somebody's house and there are rules of the house. Or you please remove your shoes before you come in. You may not smoke in this house because the rule is there's no smoking inside. You go to an establishment like a hotel, a restaurant, a movie theater, and there are rules. Cell phones, must turn them off. There are many rules and restrictions. You can't bring your own food from home, and there you are in the theater eating kadi chawal that you brought from home. There are rules everywhere. Every country has its rules, its laws. Countries have boundaries, and if you end up in another country, then you may be incarcerated for many, many years, perhaps for a whole lifetime, because you disregarded the laws of that country. Devtas have their rules. This Devta, I offered him something that he didn't like, so I got punished. This Devta, he will punish you because you offered him something, a red cloth, and you're supposed to offer him white cloth. They're very picky and choosy. But God is not like that. God is all loving and he forgives, and there are no rules or restrictions. So it's so easy for us. God has made it very, very easy for us because our mind is so difficult. It is so difficult to rule the mind. It's so difficult to get the mind to behave itself. So if we had been given some difficult sadhana, we would have a very good excuse. We would say to God, you gave me this incredibly difficult sadhana to do. I cannot do it because my mind doesn't allow me to do it. So God said, I'll give you something very easy to do. God lives within his name. How is it that we can gain godly benefit by just taking his name? We call out to a person of the world. It may be a friend or a family member. And just by calling out to that person, we don't reach that person, do we? But with God, it's very different. The name of a worldly person is insentient. It is lifeless. Naturally, a name doesn't have life in it. But the name of God is different. Jagat Guru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj says, Chinmaya Chetan hai yugal naam. Chinmaya Chetan hai yugal naam. The name of Sri Radha Krishna, yugal naam. The name of God is Chinmaya. It's transcendental. Chetan, it is a living entity because God lives within his name. God lives within his name along with his unlimited powers and energies. Gauranga Mahaprabhu has said this. Naam namakari bahudha nij sarvat shaktis tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kala You have placed, you are dwelling in your name. You have given us uncountable names of yours. We can take any name of God. There are uncountable names of God. Mahaprabhuji says, you have given us uncountable names of yours to chant, and on top of that, you dwell in your names and you live in your name along with your unlimited powers and energies. But Durdaiva midrisha miha janinanuragaha. It is my misfortune that I still don't fall in love with you. Even though I'm taking your name and you are living in your name with all your energies and powers, and yet I am not gaining any benefit. I'm not falling in love with you. Why? Because I don't think about you as I take your name. I don't meditate on you. I don't do Rup Dhyan. So I don't fall in love with you. Therefore, I'm not gaining any benefit. Naam mein hai sarva shakti Govind Radhe, nama paradhi labh paye na bata de. Nama paradhi labh paye na bata de. Radha Govind Geet. Jagadguru Shri Kripaluji Maharaj says that God's name has all powers of God within it, but if we are committing namaparad, then we cannot gain any benefit despite taking his name day in and day out. We hear about many aparad, many sins, and we hear about Panch Mahapap, 5 greatest sins: stealing gold, killing a virtuous Brahmin, having impure feelings towards a Guru's wife, drinking alcohol. And the 5th one is to help someone who is committing 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, all 5, or all of the offenses. Even to help someone commit any one of these offenses. That is the 5th Mahapap, 5th greatest sin. You know, we hear about sins like nahi asatya samapatak punja. There is no greater sin than telling lies. Parapida sama nahi adhamai. There is no greater sin than harming another. So there are many sins, we know, telling lies, harming others, stealing, so on and so forth. And then there are 5 greatest sins, Mahapap, and then there's Namaparad. The greatest spiritual offense. The greatest spiritual offense, the greatest namaparad is to have doubts about God and godly saints. To have doubts about God, namaparad. To have doubts about a saint, namaparad. The greatest spiritual offense, the greatest spiritual sin. Why did Ram hide behind a tree to kill Bali? Why did Krishna why did he do the Maharas with the gopis who are married women? I don't understand that. That's not good, that's not right. When we make such comments, what we are really saying is that God is the greatest, but my intellect, my buddhi, it's even greater than God. Because I think that was wrong. My intellect says that God was wrong. I'll tell you something that really happened. True story. A woman said to Sri Maharajji, Jagadguru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj, I may have shared this with you a few days ago too, I don't remember. She said, Maharajji, I've heard that Sri Krishna was quite flirtatious. Sri Maharajji said, I've heard the same. I've heard so many things about him, but Maharajji, you know, if he were to come to the world today, I can assure you that I would not allow him to touch me. Maharajji looked at this woman and said, you have nothing to worry about, because he does not touch the likes of you. He would not touch just anybody. He would not touch you. To attain his divine touch, that is a huge privilege. Why would he touch someone like you? Why would he give that privilege of his divine touch to someone like you who has so many doubts? Such a namaparad, to find fault with God and to find fault with godly saints, the ones who have the same powers as God. Tasmins tajjane bheda bhavat, Narad Bhakti Darshan. Narad ji says, and he's an avatar of God, Narad Muni. He says there is no difference between God and one who has attained God realization. A saint, in other words, a guru, Mahatma, Sant, all synonyms. So the name of God is the same as God because God is living in his name. If we are not receiving the benefit, and we are not, it is because of the offenses we are committing side by side. We don't have any love for God. We don't meditate on God. We don't do Rup Dhyan. We just take his name mechanically. Because not only is the name of God equal to God, in fact, the Ramayana says the name of God is much greater than God. God's name is greater than God himself. Kahan kahan lagi naam badai, Ram na sakahi naam gun gai. Ram bhalu kapi katak batora, setu hetu shram kinh na thora. नाम लेत भव सिंधु सुखाही, करहु विचार सुजन मन माही. In the age of Treta, the Supreme Lord, Ram, took the help of bears and monkeys. He took the help of the army of monkeys to help him to build the bridge to Lanka. It was a bridge on the ocean, not on a river. Formidable task. If it were not for Nal and Neel having that boon that the stones that they would touch would float on water, it would have been impossible to build that bridge. Now, I'm not talking about the powers of God, of course. Bhagwan Ram could build the bridge just by thinking about it, but from the Leela point of view. So Bhagwan Ram took the help of bears and monkeys to build the bridge to Lanka. The Ramayana says, Saint Tulsidas ji says, that the name of God, the name of Bhagwan Shri Ram is so much greater than him, because by taking the shelter of his name, countless souls have crossed the ocean of Maya. And countless more will do the same. So Tulsidas ji asks, think about it, O good people of this world, who is greater, Ram or the name of Ram? He says even Bhagwan Shri Ram, even he does not know the glory of his own name. His name is greater than him. But why does he say that the name of Ram is greater than Ram? Why is it that God's name is greater than God himself? It is because whenever God comes to earth, we fail to recognize him. We see him and he appears very common to us, or he appears as if he's a good man, or he appears downright evil to us, depending on how we are ourselves. We see the world as we are, we see God as we are ourselves. So we fail to recognize him. Because he performs such confusing leelas, doesn't he? Bhagwan Ram is crying because his wife is missing. She has been kidnapped by the demon Ravan, and he is searching everywhere. रे वृक्षाः पर्वतस्था गिरिगहनलता वायुना वीज्यमाना रामोऽहं व्याकुलात्मा दशरथतनयः शोकशुक्रेण दग्धः बिम्बोष्ठी चारुनेत्री सुविपुलजघना बद्धनागेन्द्रकाञ्ची हा सीता केन नीता मम हृदयगता को भवान् केन दृष्टा. वाल्मीकि रामायण. Tulsidas ji says similarly, हे खग मृग हे मधुकर श्रेणी तुम देखी सीता मृग नैनी. Bhagwan Ram is asking birds and creatures of the forest, have you seen my doe-eyed Sita anywhere? Sita mrig naini. So when we saw Bhagwan Sri Ram like this, we became confused. We become very confused by the pastimes of Bhagwan when he descends to earth. He's asking Yashoda, Bhagwan Shri Krishna is asking Yashoda, Maiya mohi de makhan roti. Maiya, I'm very hungry. बहुत भूख लगी है मैया, बहुत भूख लगी है, मुझे माखन रोटी दे देना, साथ में मिश्री भी. I'm so hungry, मैया, give me makhan, give me the thick roti with mishri. Makhan and mishri with the roti. So when we see this, we become confused because he can feed countless universes just by thinking about it, just by resolving to feed them. When the Pandav brothers, when the Pandavas, along with Kunti and Draupadi, when they were in exile, they didn't have any access to cooking utensils and this and that. So Surya Bhagwan had become pleased with Draupadi's worship that Draupadi had done. So he had gifted her Akshay Patra, a vessel that would provide inexhaustible amount of food, but only until Draupadi had eaten. So for the whole day, she could take out as much food as she wanted from that vessel, but once she had finished eating, then there would be no more food for the day. Then there would be more food the following day. This is how it worked. Duryodhan always wanted to trouble his cousins, so he said to Durvasa Muni, Maharaj, my cousins, they're in the jungles, and it would be such a privilege for them to have your darshan, so you should go and visit them. Durvasa Muni went with hundreds of disciples to visit the Pandavas. But he went in the evening time, after Draupadi had finished eating. So when the Pandavas saw Durvasa Muni coming, they panicked. Draupadi said, what are we going to feed him and his disciples? Because I have already finished eating. Thankfully, Durvasa Muni said to them, after they had done pranam, he said, I am going to go with my disciples to bathe in the river, and then we'll come back and eat. And Draupadi prayed to Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna appeared. She explained the predicament. He said, bring the Akshay Patra to me. And when he saw the Akshay Patra, he looked inside, he said, there's a little leaf in there. Sri Krishna took that leaf out, put it in his mouth, and then he left. In the meantime, Durvasa Muni came back with his disciples, and he said, you know, I can't explain it, but somehow we all feel very full. Our stomachs are totally full, completely full, so we cannot eat anything. But even if they had wanted to eat, now Akshay Patra would give as much food as desired. So the point is that Sri Krishna can feed not only Durvasa and hundreds of disciples of his, he can feed countless universes. And yet he's asking for makhan and roti. He's asking for food. He is ajigatsaha apipasaha. He experiences no hunger, no thirst. And yet he says, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, give me some chach, give me buttermilk. He's hungry for that, he's greedy for it. छछिया भर छाछ पे नाच नचावती. ताही अहीर की छोहरियां छछिया भर छाछ पे नाच nachavati. The gopis make him dance for a long, long time because they have promised him chach. And if you show us your dance, we'll give you chach. And greedy for that chach, he's dancing for them. When we see these pastimes, we become confused. But when it comes to his name, there are no pastimes attached to his name. We can take his name and we don't become confused. How can we become confused when we say, Bhajo Giridhar Govind Gopala? It's fine. So that's one of the reasons that his name is greater than him. Another reason is, if Shri Krishna were to descend to earth today, we would have to go to wherever he has descended, right? If the news comes, headlines all over the world, Shri Krishna has come back to Vrindavan. Oh, I have to go to Vrindavan? It's not possible for me at this moment. We'll have to go there, or we go there, we'll have to make the effort to go there. But the name of God, his name is available to us anywhere, everywhere in the world. No matter where we are, his name is always available to us. That's another reason why his name is greater than him. Another reason is that Bhagavan Sri Ram, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, God gives separation to his devotees. It's for a good reason. Shri Krishna left the gopis after the Maharas, actually during the Maharas, and then after the Maharas also. He was not always with them. So he left them, and then at the age of 11 and a half, he left them forever. He went off to Mathura, then to Dwarika. He had other things to do. So he gives his association and then also separation. Shri Krishna had said to the gopis, now that I have given you this bliss, ultimate bliss of Maharas, now go home and think about what I have given to you. Do kirtan, do smaran, do kirtanam bhakti, do smaranam bhakti, do roop dhyan, think about what I have given you, and chant my names, chant my glories, chant my songs of my glory. So he gives separation to the devotee, but his name does not ever give us separation. His name is always with us. We are never without the name of God. It's not like, okay, well, I had access to God's name for 20 years and then now I don't have access. Everyone has access to the name of God at all times. So for these reasons, the scriptures have said, and we can understand why they say this, that the name of God is greater than God. But there's a confusion that we have, and that is, the name of God has all of God's powers in it. So when I take the name of God, no matter how it is that I am, no matter how my heart is, no matter what the state of my heart is, I should be tasting the nectar of God. Because God lives inside his name, so when I take his name, I should be tasting that nectar. And a lot of people give this example that, whether you ingest poison knowingly or unknowingly, you will die. The poison will do its work. It will do its job. One fellow, he took poison knowingly, and another one took it unknowingly. He didn't know there was poison mixed in his food, but both of them died. If you go near fire, you will feel the heat, no matter how you go towards it. Someone pushes you towards it, or you go intentionally towards it. So why does it matter that Why does it matter how I take the name of God? The name of God should prove its power. But Jagadguru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj answers these questions by saying, look, let's take the case of poison. Poison has done its work, yes? But it does its work only once you ingest it. You're looking at the bottle of poison, you don't fall down dead. You're just looking at it. You haven't ingested it. So it's only when you drink the poison, knowingly or unknowingly, it's only when you drink it that poison does its job. It's only when you go near fire that you feel the heat, the quality of fire, heat. You experience it only when you go near it. You're looking at a picture of roaring fire or a video of it, you don't say, oh, I feel so hot. No, you're looking at a video, you're looking at a photo. You have to go near fire. In the same way, we say, well, I'm singing the name of God, I'm chanting the name of God. But you have to experience the name of God. You have to be taking the name of God with the involvement of your mind. The mind has to be involved because the mind is the one that performs all our actions. So the doer of the action, the performer of the action, if it's not involved in it, if it's not attached to God's name, we will not experience the greatness of His name. We will not experience the nectar of God's name. God's name is such that when you start taking it, then it stays over here just in the mouth, then it goes down further, it goes further down. When you start taking it more and more seriously, as you start taking it more and more seriously, as you start putting more and more value on the name of God, then it keeps going further and further down and it goes into the heart. There was a beggar and it was a hot summer's day. The beggar went, knocked in front of someone's house, knocked at the door, and the owner of the house came out. And the beggar said, "Sir, it's very, very hot. Would you please give me a glass of cold water?" The man was very kind. He said, "Yes, of course." So he brought him a glass of water. "It's very hot outside. Would you mind if I came into your courtyard and just sat for a couple of minutes?" No, you can come in. He sat there under a tree. Then he said, "It's still very hot. Would you mind if I came into your living room?" "Come for a while, it's okay." Would you mind would you mind putting the AC on?" "Okay." "Would you mind if I lay down on the sofa?" "Okay, go ahead." After a couple of hours, the man said, "Now please leave." "No, I'm finding it very comfortable. I think I'll just move in." And that's what the name of God does. It goes inside. We take the name of God using our mouth and keeps on going down, further and further down. Then it says, I'm just going to lodge myself in your heart and I'm not going to leave. Some amount of effort is needed. We just need to correctly value the greatness of God's name. The name of God is at the very least equal to God. God is omniscient, omnipresent. God has unlimited powers and energies. And the name of God is the same as God. And then the name of God is even greater than God, but at the very least, it's the same as God. Because when we say Govind, then Sri Krishna will come running to us. But if we truly value the name that we are chanting, if we truly are in love with Him as we chant His name, then He will come to us. You may have seen a depiction of Saint Surdas, the blind devotee of Sri Krishna. He's blind, so he cannot see. He's an old man and he's playing his one-stringed instrument and he's chanting the name of Sri Krishna. And you see Sri Krishna, little Bal Krishna, sitting like this, looking at Surdas. Because Surdas is chanting the names of Sri Krishna. And Sri Krishna is so attracted by this love with which Surdas is chanting the name that he has to come. He has to appear before Surdas. Surdas is chanting the names of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna is sitting right in front, looking at him. It is true that by chanting the holy name we can attain God, but not just by chanting. We need to add love to that chanting, because we are completely aware of the philosophy of the Vedas and Vedic scriptures, which is Milahi na Raghupati binu anuraga kiye jog jap gyan viraga. Milahi na Raghupati binu anuraga. Without love, you cannot reach Bhagwan Shri Ram. Bhakti re vainam nayati, bhakti re vainam pashyati, bhakti re vainam darshayati, bhakti vashah purusha, bhakti reva bhuyasi, mathar shruti. The Vedas are saying that bhakti or love alone, with love alone can you see God, with love alone can you experience God, with love alone can you attain God. Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya ahamevam vidhorjuna Gyatum drashtum cha tattve na praveshtum cha parantap. O Parantap, O Arjun, says Sri Krishna in the Gita, whether you wish to know me, have my darshan, see me, or merge within me. Gyatum drashtum praveshtum. No matter what it is that you desire, you will have to love me. You will have to practice bhakti, practice devotion to me. Practicing devotion, practicing bhakti simply means loving him. So love is that ingredient. Le naam prem ras ghol, Radhe Radhe Govind bol. Sri Maharaji writes, take the name of Sri Radha Krishna, but mix love in that name, in the chanting of the name. Mix. Add to the name of Sri Krishna the love for Sri Krishna. Le naam, chant the name, but prem ras ghol, mix love into it. Then the name of God will show its miracle. So God has been ultimately merciful to us by providing countless names of His. The Vedas say, Kam Brahma, Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha. All of these are names of God. Every consonant and every vowel of every language in the world is in fact a name of God. Akaro Vasudeva. A means Vasudev Krishna, Vasudev's son. Ka means Brahma. U means Umapati, Mahadev, Shankar Bhagwan. So, E, all these are just consonants and vowels are all names of God. Yashoda Maya never said Krishna. She always says Kanua. She called him Kanua. She called Balaram Balua. She would call them, Oh Kanua, Oh Balua. And they would come running to her. So is Kanua, this name, is it mentioned in the Vedas, we ask? No. Balua. Is that name mentioned in the Vedas? Of course not. But every name is a name of God. If you take it with love, it will show its miracle. It will show its miracle to us if we take it with love. So the power of God's name is unlimited. The glory of God's name is unlimited. Jagadguru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj has taught the entire world how to take the name of God. The world did not know about Roop Dhyan. Sri Maharaji introduced that concept. It's not a new concept, mind you. It is in the Vedas and Vedic scriptures. But we were not being taught, the world was not being taught, we were just being taught to take the name of God. Take the name of God, chant the name of God. But nobody was saying, you've got to think about God as you chant the name of God. Sri Maharaj Ji spent his 91 years. He said it millions and millions of times, Roop Dhyan Karo, Roop Dhyan Karo. Do Roop Dhyan. Think about Sri Radha and Krishna. Think about God as you take his name. Roop ka Dhyan. Visualize his divine form. Any which way you want. Don't think, oh, I've never seen him, so how can I think about him? I don't know what he looks like. It doesn't matter what he looks like. We will know what he looks like when we see him. But when we see him in Golok, when we have the divine eyes, we will see what he looks like. But until then, we must use our imagination. There is no incorrect imagination. Your imagination. Even if you make a stick figure and say that's Krishna, Sri Krishna will have to come to you in that form as a stick figure. But there will be unlimited happiness in that form also. It doesn't matter how we think about him. Only thing is that we must be thinking, I am thinking about Sri Krishna. I am thinking about my beloved Lord, my divine Lord. There's nothing ordinary about him. There's nothing material about him. As long as that feeling is there, then we can use our imagination freely. We must. That is what Roop Dhyan is. Think of him any which way. Put the clothes of your choice on him. Have him wear the ornaments of your choice. Or if you choose not to put any ornaments on him, that is fine. Put Western style of clothing on him. Have him dressed in a Gujarati style of clothing, or a South Indian style of clothing, or any which way. Dress him up according to the season. Have him play the sports that you want him to play. Have him play cricket. Have him play baseball. Have him play frisbee. Have him play volleyball. Have him perform the pastimes that you want him to perform. All in your mind. Do Roop Dhyan. When you take the name of God, says Jagat Guru Tam Shri Kripaluji Maharaj, don't take it just like that. Take the name of God while doing Roop Dhyan. And then you will experience the power and the glory of God's name. Boliye Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai. Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai